Hello, everybody. Tim Grimes here with Marvin Daniels, ready to drop some SP, specific person manifestation knowledge onto you. Marvin, hello, how are you?
What up? What up?
In case you don't know, Marvin manifested an SP back after 5 years of no contact. Uh, I've never done anything like that, but I met my wife in a bar, and 15 years later, we're still happily married with two kids. So, hey, that's something too. Whoa, maybe that's the SP advice. Anyway, yeah, in all seriousness, we've worked with a lot of people over the years on relationship issues. And last July, we started teaming up to do SP related relationship issues and dynamics and explain them in the most down to earth law of assumption, law of attraction way possible. I've written multiple books on that topic. I can speak about it more extensively than just about anybody on YouTube. And one of the few people who can keep up is Marv, and he's got his own spin on it. So today we want to talk about something that I mentioned in my last solo video when I was in my car, which is what Marv and I always talk about, the tendency of SP content, intentionally or unintentionally. And we'll give most creators and people on Reddit commenting the benefit of the doubt. I think most of this is unintentional, the majority at least. The tendency of these folks to really overpromise and have unrealistic expectations. And then for the person taking the advice, even if they are serious about applying it, being underwhelmed or feeling like whatever they were promised was not delivered to them. And so often we see with quote unquote success stories, the specific person, special person, I'm going to manifest my specific person back community, that if someone has a success, it's short-lived. It doesn't last. So in other words, you might use affirmations or visualization or some of the stuff that Neville talks about, but Neville didn't really talk about because Neville wasn't an SP coach and you guys are misinterpreting it usually. You might use some of these popular tools and your SP reaches back out to you, or perhaps you even get back together. But that is not going to resolve the issues that split you apart in the first place unless you do deeper inner work. That is where the real law of assumption work begins. That's what Marvin and I specialize in. Without question, we can help you reconnect with your SP, but whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is to be determined. The good thing is working on yourself and being able to communicate better with your partner. Because if it doesn't work out with your old SP, if you do this work, one thing we can almost guarantee is it will work out better pretty soon with your future partner. That is the real SP work. That's why I always say you are the real SP. But what is it about all this over promising, Marv? I mean, if we're going to take the non-cynical view, and we can go over the cynical view a little bit later, which is fucking marketing and money, and people really not having scruples or morals enough to realize that, oh, wait, maybe what I'm saying, this ridiculous over dramatic stuff's not going to work for most people, but I don't care because it worked for me once and now I can make money doing it, charging for 15-minute coaching sessions. Besides that obvious angle, which we'll discuss when we get angrier as the video goes along, why have people bought the pearl of great price, but it's the wrong fucking pearl? Why is that?
That's a that's a funny way you put it. You know, I mean that's a great question. I just think that people, they want to be sold to. And again, like we said in past videos, I think people want to be lied to.
Yep.
And they want whatever it is that they want. And they don't want to be told anything else. I mean, Tim, we've talked to people multiple times and we have heard more than once, oh, I didn't want to work with you because you said something that triggered me. We've heard that throughout the years of us doing this from multiple people. And then
Since we started working together, I would say 10% of the people we get on initial calls with, and listen, if you're serious, if this is resonating with you, you can schedule an initial call with us. There's links in the description. But I would say 10% of people we hop on initial calls, maybe even 15%, will say that outright, like, I didn't like you because you were telling the truth. But anyway, continue.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the truth behind that, but that's why it is the way that it is. That's why there's so much over promising and under delivering because people know that. They know that people want what they want. These coaches know, I mean, they're not stupid. We can talk shit and say, oh, oh, this coach is dumb, this coach is dumb. But obviously I think a lot of these guys know exactly what they're doing and they just don't care. I don't think that I don't think a
See,
lot of
that's
them.
the bad thing. I would hope that they didn't know, but you might be right. I mean, we've seen more and more proof of that, but I'm sorry. Yeah,
Not
I think some of the popular ones don't know yet. At least or they know a part of them knows, but a part of them's like, oh, this works. And I don't, yeah, if people just fall for it.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? You might be right. I just think that if we all get honest about this, and I think if those coaches get honest about this, I think a lot of those coaches would know that the way they are saying it or promising it isn't going to work consistently for most people. And I think that they know that, but I just think, like I said, a lot of them don't care because they know, oh, I'm going to get what I want. I'm going to get the dollar, and that's what it's really about. But to your earlier point about Neville not being an SP coach, I really wonder how did this start? Like, who started this YouTube SP stuff? And
Someone saw the dollar signs, that's for sure.
yeah, like we got to give this person credit for sure. I mean, we might not agree with how they go about it or whatever, but whoever took Neville's words and turned it into, oh, you can get an SP back, or you can do this, or you can do that. I mean, it's brilliant in the worst way.
Exactly. And
But
if you what you're saying is true too, man, like if these coaches do know to the extent what they're doing, we'll get into it in a minute. Finish your thought about this last piece.
no, I mean, I just like I was saying, I just don't know. I don't like who came up with this idea, and because now it's just been perpetuated throughout YouTube, throughout self-help, throughout everything, and it's all basically trying to manifest somebody back, whether it's old or whether it's new. So, I mean, like I said, shout out to that person. But like I said, I think that's why people overpromise and underdeliver, mainly is because they know people want to hear. They want to hear that language. They want to be lied to. They want to be told, "Oh yeah, this is possible," even though it might not be, or even though it might take way longer than they expect.
Yeah. If you're new here and you don't know what Marvin and I are referencing, I'll put a link above to our SP video playlist. We have had many, many conversations about all of the points that Marvin just made there. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm just a good old boy. That still just really disturbs me when I hear that viewpoint, even though I agree with it more and more. That these coaches are basically intentionally lying to their clients because it's just so unethical. I mean, if you come from a serious counseling or serious spiritual background, like that is the number one thing you cannot do. Um, and it's one reason that there's accountability in a lot of fields and licensures in a lot of fields. Obviously, and I'm not necessarily for that a lot of the time, but the reason that licensure and all these regulations exist is so this kind of shit does not happen. The kind of stuff we hear all the time, which is basically people getting promised stuff that's completely unrealistic and then destroying their mental health because they do their best to apply the advice correctly, and it makes things worse instead of better. And I just want to spend a moment to break down the psychology here, because people throw around all these very mystical terms, everyone's you pushed out, live in the end, etc. And as we always like to say, listen, most of this stuff we can break down to psychology. Most of the stuff, if we're going to use it in the law of attraction context, law of assumption context, we can bring back to Emile Coué. And with that line of thinking, which is also what Joseph Murphy talks a lot about in the Power of Your Subconscious Mind, these coaches, okay, when this works, okay, when you have someone who manifests their SP back and it's a great success, meaning the relationship stays good or is actually, works out long term or semi long term. If it's really the SP advice that's helping that person do that, it is because the person who's taking that advice from a coach or from a video or a Reddit post basically believes that they are deserving of being in a healthy, loving relationship with this person. And they believe that. They believe if I affirm or visualize or whatever technique I use, if I do this, if I live in the end, if I believe that this is so, that this is going to happen, now we're just quoting Coué, paraphrasing Coué, if I believe this is going to happen, it is going to happen. And they have that conviction, that genuine conviction, and they still, they still like their person, hopefully, and the person ends up or the person does like them, and they have that conviction, and it happens. That absolutely can occur. It's what Marvin and I always say is that's a rarity. That doesn't happen often. What happens much more often is the person gets back together after believing they could have it, and then there's still all these problems that happen down the road, right? And what happens much more often than that, the vast majority of the time for most people, this is what people really don't want to hear, is people don't do enough work and nothing happens. The SP never comes back, and they never get a good new SP anytime soon from applying this advice because they haven't taken the work seriously enough, which is changing your beliefs and your imagination and your expectancy so that you love yourself and believe you are deserving of a loving relationship with a former partner or with a new partner. So that's like, again, I just think we can strip away the esoteric spiritual language. This is about belief. And these SP coaches are generally selling you on blind faith. If you have blind faith, this is going to work. There's a very good chance it will work to some degree. If you don't have that blind faith, it probably won't work. And guess what? Murphy talks a lot about this in The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. Blind faith is never good long term. It's never good. I hear people saying, oh, it's good to be, to be dumb, to be gullible, da da da. You believe, then you just believe. No, it's fucking not. That doesn't pay off long term when you're mature and you get older. You need to have common sense. And if you just have blind faith, it's going to be the blind leading the blind. And that, my friends, is most of the SP community and most of the bullshit we see on YouTube. So that was my rant.
Yeah, I mean, I believe in being delusional, but I do think there is such thing as too delusional. And I think that's what is very prevalent in this community right now is people being way too delusional about some of their stuff. And you see those videos out there of content creators, and they specifically are telling you to be extremely delusional. But I think people are taking that out of context. And go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Murphy, people should just read a book like The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, because there's no way you can read that book and think that Murphy was not being Murphy was delusional in a lot of ways. He advocated it, but he always advocated it within the realm of reason. Same with Coué. That's why they had such great success with people. So yeah, it's totally different what they're talking about compared to these charlatans on YouTube.
Yeah, and also too, the thing about teachers like Coué and Joseph Murphy is they told their students that X, Y, and Z wouldn't work if they did X, Y, and Z. And a lot of these coaches don't tell, in my opinion, they don't tell students that necessarily. Or they'll tell students that you shouldn't worry about vibration, or you shouldn't worry about this, or you shouldn't worry about that. You should only, do this, or you should do it this way. It has to be, you know what I mean? And they make it seem like that's all you have to do, not realizing it or not teaching that it's so nuanced. And those teachers, like I just said, Murphy and Coué, they did that. They let their students know, listen, this is not going to work if you do it this way, or if you try this, it's not going to work. They never said, oh, vibration is fake. Whatever is fake, affirmations are fake. They didn't say anything, because a lot of teachers right now, they're preaching that. They're preaching that way doesn't work. You don't need to be happy all the time. And you don't, while that's true, it still can, some people are still good at that, and that way can still work for some people. So I wouldn't dismiss it totally. And so I think, like I said, the parallel is Kuwait and these guys, they didn't lie to their people. They told them,
That's it. That's that simple. It didn't fucking lie.
yeah, they told their students the bad with the good, and they
Exactly.
told them how to execute, you know. And for me, another good point is most of these people that are doing this stuff and that get results, you don't even know if the technique you did is the reason why it happened. You don't even know that. Like for instance, for me, I have my EFT videos. I can't tell you how many times people contact me or they leave a comment in the video and they say, "Yo, after I did your EFT tapping, Marv, somebody text me." And I say to myself, "Thank you for the credit, but you don't know if that was the reason why they if the EFT tapping was the reason why they contacted you. You want to believe that because you need something to hold on to and say, oh, this is why. We need answers. The human mind needs answers. It doesn't like having answers. So if it doesn't have answers, what the human mind will do is it will come up with some shit to say, oh, this must have happened because of this. And you'll piece it together. It's kind of like those people that talk about you should talk about the Illuminati all the time back in the day. You know, oh, this person got famous because they did this, and then 666 and the mark of the beast, and then they sold, and then this person got killed right after that happened, and they're like piecing all this shit together.
In
And I'm thinking to
retrospect,
myself,
right?
you have no idea if that is the reason why that person got famous. You have no fucking clue. It makes sense. It sounds good, like, oh yeah, that person got famous because they did this, they killed this person, and then they sold their soul, and then they drank this person's blood, and they did all, you know what I mean? Those crazy Illuminati stories you hear when people get famous or whatever. And I'm not saying there's no truth to some of that, but what I'm saying is you have no idea because there's a lot of people who did become successful or did become famous, and they did not sell their soul or do nothing crazy like that. You know what I mean? So I say all that to say, if you're affirming for a specific person or whoever, whatever you're doing, you don't even know if that's the reason they showed up. You know, you did it one time, you affirmed one time, and you think, oh, I got a text message. But like I said, you did, I'm taking credit away from myself. You did my EFT, and you were like, oh, yeah, Marv, your EFT works. And I'm like, you don't know that. They could have, they could have came back because you just, like you said earlier, Tim, you just believed for like it just clicked for whatever reason. And that click could have happened a week before. Your belief could have changed a week before you even did my EFT video. But when you did the EFT, all of a sudden they texted you, so you're gonna give credit to the EFT when in reality it had nothing to do with my EFT video. See, people don't think about this type of shit.
Techniques are just an excuse to believe, man. A lot of the time.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So that's why I don't. I mean, that's why you always constantly hear Tim and I say, don't even listen to us or don't even give us credit. Other coaches won't tell you that shit. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, go ahead, Tim.
No, yeah, no, that's it. I mean, it's like this is kind of a sobering video. We're not even like that upset. I mean, I usually get amped. Like it's just kind of like it's more like, what are you doing? You know, I sent that last video, like, joking about the 15-minute sessions and shit. Like, what are you doing, guys? You really think calling these jokers or having a 15-minute Zoom session or 30-minute Zoom session is going to fucking fix shit? It
No.
will, maybe to a degree, if you believe it will, like Marv just said. But from a practical standpoint, which is what you're going to need long term to be in a great relationship with somebody, it ain't going to do shit. You gotta get deeper, or at least sometimes it can. Sometimes, whatever, 1%, 2% of those 15-minute calls, a light bulb could click, or you could believe, and that could be enough. That's what the place of a lot of these teachers is they make you believe more. But if the belief is built on blind faith, and if the foundation is not solid, like we always talk about, it's not going to last. We got to look at these psychological cycles that have kept you trapped and feeling emotionally alone and unable to be in a good relationship or keep a good relationship. That is what we have to look at. Those assumptions, how that makes you feel. That's it. Much more than any of these, everyone's you pushed out. Everyone is you pushed out, but in that way. What are your real deep assumptions? These motherfuckers won't even touch that shit, let alone in 15 minutes. I've seen a lot. I just want to give a special shout out. Now I'm getting amped up. All this instant manifestation stuff recently, to your point. Guys, instant manifestations don't fucking exist. All this shit, it's like, I manifested my SP in 2 days. To Marvin's point, what preceded that? What preceded that? usually, weeks, months, years of turmoil that led to that point. I manifested it instantly. Everything manifests instantly. These people are fucking dummies who say that shit. Okay. I mean, you can believe them. Again, don't believe Marvin, me, believe them. But, uh, we'll talk
I
in
just
2 years.
I just think it comes down to being held accountable for most
Mhm.
people.
Mhm.
And people don't want to realize it, but that's the one thing that most people need is they need someone to hold them accountable. And there's a reason why therapy or whatever else goes on for months, if not years. It's
Exactly.
because people don't have the discipline to do this stuff by themselves. They can't see their blind spots. It's like an athlete. When you're in the game, you don't see where you're messing up a lot of times. Your man is open. You keep missing them when they're open. You don't pass them the ball because you don't see that they're open. And the coach has to call a timeout and tell you, hey, look, this player over here is open. You keep missing them. Stop missing them because that's costing us the game or whatever weakness needs to be exploited. And so a lot of people they don't realize that they're fucking up because when you're in the game, it's hard to see that you're fucking up. And that's why coaches are necessary. And that's what coaching really is for. And that's what Tim and I provide is we provide that guidance for you because like I said, when you're in the game, when you're in the marriage, when you're in the relationship, when you're in the whatever it is, you a lot of times people they're not aware, frankly, of the mistakes that they're making. So that's really what and that's why Tim always skulks at the 15-minute sessions and all of that type of stuff because it's
Email
gonna take
coaching. Email coaching.
yeah, email coaching because it's gonna take a hell of a lot more than email coaching and a 15-minute phone call or FaceTime with somebody to fix your problems. I guarantee you that. So
Yeah, the irony, this is a good place to wrap up because I know we got a call in a minute. But the irony is real SP coaching is so needed for a lot of people. That's what's another sad paradox of this is that real SP coaching, real relationship coaching for people who have these issues is so needed for a lot of you. And instead of going to real coaches or a good relationship therapist or counselor, people usually turn to these charlatans who sell you the quick fix. So they'll come back, just do this, just pay me, $200, $500, $4,000. They'll come back, you know. It's like we were talking about the preachers who used to fucking always be asking for money, and the women would keep on paying the preacher, and then you find out the preacher's got 4 ladies on the side and is drinking every night or whatever. It's fucking this. It's a SCAM a lot of the time, and I guess you're even more cynical than I am in some ways, Marv, about it. Like I still try to give the benefit of the doubt to some of these coaches. I just think they've totally drank the milk and are like, this is it, this is legit. But a lot of them who have been doing it for years, we can't give them the benefit of the doubt. And if you've been watching this channel closely, I think you guys know who that is. There's a good reason too that we like when we like an SP coach, we usually will give a shout out to them. We are not competitive. We want there to be more good SP coaching, as we said.
right.
So when we don't talk about people who are prominent in the community, that's usually a silent, you could say, indictment.
I mean, based on those messages, real quick, we saw from that you know who, those messages seem pretty damning. Like she knew what she was doing.
Oh, her for sure. I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, not for sure. I still don't know, but I mean, that doesn't surprise me at all. There's others that I feel like are more morally upright, but I don't. That's what I'm alluding to more. No, but a
yeah.
lot of these people, I mean, just to be blunt, most of these people with big channels talking about this stuff, you can't trust. Leave us some hateful comments, guys, if you want to be deluded. I might, rip you a new asshole if you do. Just be warned. Those days of me turning the other cheek on these SP stuff are over. Marv,
Yeah, that's
thank
what I want to
you.
hear.
I know you do. Yeah, in all seriousness, though, guys, if we can help you, if you're serious about getting help, link is in the description. Until next time, be well, stay sane, and probably stay off of YouTube, generally speaking. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.